Donald Trump and J.D. Vance and Putin believe that they're going to intimidate and bully and threaten President Zelensky to join the club of corrupt and unprincipled leaders, they will literally need to wait until hell freezes over twice, because this is a man who is committed to the survival of his country.
The propaganda is what's coming out of J.D. Vance's mouth, and it's Russian propaganda.
I saw the meeting as a despicable display of bullying by the president.
It was Vice President Vance, particularly, who was on the offense, who was berating President Zelensky.
It is absolutely shameful what is happening right now. The White House has become an arm of the Kremlin.
They just have never felt such shame about American policy before. And I don't know how our allies trust us after this.
Putin and his cronies are probably popping champagne bottles right now.
We have someone that is occupying the White House. And as far as I'm concerned, he is an enemy to the United States.
What's up, y'all? Gerald here, creator of Gospel Chops and your host for this YouTube channel, back with another video. Now, y'all, have you ever known anybody who you found digging themselves into a hole in life? And the one thing you noticed was that any kind of advice you tried to give them, any helpful hand you tried to give them, they just ignored it and kept on digging. Well, there's an old adage that says, if you find yourself stuck in a hole of your own making, the first thing you need to do is stop digging. And it seems like Volodymyr Zelensky is finding himself in a position where he is deep in a hole, y'all. Not a regular hole, a super, super deep hole, where his country is running out of funds. His country is running out of munitions. His country is running out of soldiers in the midst of a war. He likes to say that, well, I'm a president of a country that is at war. Well, you're losing the war, sir. Russia came in and took 20% of your country, of your land, just took it. And I know a lot of these whiners on the left side, they try to come out and say all these things and cast aspersions against the right, but the truth of the matter is, if you study international relations, y'all, it's a little difficult out there in the real world. It's survival of the fittest. If you don't believe me, just go check out National Geographic and see how some animals act out in the wild. It is survival of the fittest out there. You can relate that to international relations. Oh yeah, and if you can't defeat a bully, you're gonna get bullied. But, as Donald Trump likes to tout, while I was the president, Russia didn't go into Ukraine. It wasn't even an issue. Well, there's a reason behind that. There are many reasons behind that, but I will just tap on this one for a second. When Donald Trump was out of office, there was a lot of shenanigans going on in Ukraine. Even under the Obama administration, while Joe Biden was vice president, we've heard a lot about Hunter Biden and his shenanigans over in Ukraine, but have you heard about John Kerry's son? Have you heard about Nancy Pelosi's son? Yeah, y'all, these crooked politicians sent their kids over there to launder money, in my opinion. Allegedly. Let's put all them handles on it. But we know what we know. And this is the part where we all come in at the late stage of the game, coming in on the final chapters of this story, without knowing the previous chapters and what led up to this. I saw an interview last year with Vladimir Putin and Tucker Carlson. When he went to Russia, he interviewed the man, and the man ran down the history of Russia and the Soviet Union, which included at a certain time Ukrainian territory. He knows the history, and he feels like in his heart that he can unify the Soviet Union once again. Well, once people break free from you and they get out from under your thumb, sometimes they don't want to go back. They enjoy that freedom, even though it might be false freedom, even though it might be artificial turf over there in Ukraine where it looks like the grass might be greener. Nah, maybe it's not, because they depend on other countries to support them. And that's why they've been coming to the United States with their hands out, begging and pleading. Well, seems like you got this new little comedian, 5'3" little dancing guy. And he wants to be indignant. He's quite belligerent and disrespectful to America, who's been feeding him money. Why? Because he knows of those shenanigans that have gone on in his country. He knows that America has been using his territory and taking advantage of his country in order to launder money, in my opinion. But he knows. So he acts a certain way. But he seems to not realize that there's a new sheriff in town under Donald Trump, and the shenanigans that he got away with under the previous administration that was bilking American taxpayers for all that money. Nah, it's not going to go down that way anymore. And if you don't want to play ball, you're going to find out the hard way that if America takes its gracious hand off of your country, well, you're going to lose it.
First off, they've got to change the fact that on the 17th of January, the British signed an agreement with Ukraine to have exclusive rights to those deals. Kershaw, this is a battle of dueling narratives. You can go check it out. This is on the British UK website. It talks about this 100-year Ukraine and UK signed a 100-year deal over security guarantees and economic development. So what happened is that I believe President Trump and his team found out that they were being played. So this has become a set of dueling narratives. The BBC just said today there's massive protests here. Zach Andrews just said all the European leaders are behind Zelensky. We are being played. We, the United States, are trying to be signed up to a deal that we provide security guarantees to a economic development deal that Keir Starmer has already signed them up to do. So the first thing it has to do is people have to take a step back and be honest with what's really going on. And so I think what happened here, I don't know the details, it wasn't in that meeting, but Kershaw, the president was trying to play a straight line deal to sign an agreement with them over this mineral rights deal, knowing full well that the British had already signed on this 3 days before his inauguration. So where we go from here is both sides, if this is going to work, if the Europeans really want our help, they're going to have to take a step back and start being honest with the United States about what's really going on.
President Trump hitting back at Ukrainian President Zelensky just a short time ago on President Zelensky's comments in London yesterday during a briefing where he said, quote, "An agreement to end the war is still very, very far away, and no one has started all these steps yet." President Trump responded to Zelensky by saying, quote, "This is the worst statement that could have been made by Zelensky, and America will not put up with it for much longer." It is what I was saying. This guy doesn't want there to be peace as long as he has America's backing, and Europe. In the meeting they had with Zelensky, stated flatly that they cannot do the job without the U.S. Probably not a great statement to have been made in terms of show of strength against Russia. What are they thinking?
Now, Zelensky may have been used to dealing with the Biden administration and stomping his little man feet and getting his way, but he's come to find out the hard way that Donald Trump is smarter and more savvy than Biden. Donald Trump has done his research on the little man. He's done his research on the region. He has ties to Europe. He has friends over there. He has good intel, and he's come to learn that this little Ukrainian man is full of shenanigans. That's why he got along so well with the Biden administration, because he's a criminal himself. So when they come over to his country to do their bidding, well, as long as it benefits the Ukrainians, well, he down with it. He okay with it. Can we work something out? Well, it turns out Donald Trump offered him a deal that he couldn't refuse. And you know what he did? He refused it. Which thinking people find interesting, because there had to be something behind it. Donald Trump put boot to backside just this Friday, and he's been scrambling ever since after being kicked out of the White House. He ran over to the UK begging for a loan. Couple $1 billion that his country will not be able to pay back. We already know that. He's going to go throughout Europe with his hands out, with his little tin cup begging. But it seems like the well has dried in America. Donald Trump sees him for what he is. He knows that those mineral rights that Donald Trump was trying to buy, trying to invest in, trying to create a joint partnership with, now, those mineral rights have already been offered to another country in Europe. Seems like Donald Trump found out about it. Maybe he heard through his connections about the play. So he played hardball with the little man to see how he would present himself. And when he found out the jig was up, well, he just threw the man out. We already know what it is. If you're going to offer us a deal, then offer us a deal, but it's going to be on our terms, not yours. As Donald Trump said, you ain't got the cars, little man.
There's quite a disconnect happening here at the White House and with their allies in Kyiv, because I have been told by a senior official here that nothing's going to happen with this minerals deal until Zelensky goes in front of cameras and makes an explicit public apology for the way that he behaved himself, behaved in the Oval Office with that meeting. But Zelensky is out there now saying that he thinks he can still get this minerals deal without saying sorry.
We are not making any steps back. This is our policy, to be consistent regardless of what happened before. We are constructive. If we agree that it will be signed, from our side we are ready to sign. I honestly think the United States will be ready as well. Maybe they need time to analyze some things.
Yeah, well, good luck, because there is still a desire by Republicans in D.C. to end the war in Ukraine and to make a deal with Ukraine on the way forward. But after Friday's Oval Office dust-up, Republicans don't care if peace happens with Zelensky in charge or somebody else, although nobody is saying yet who they think a suitable Zelensky replacement could be.
Something has to change. Either he needs to come to his senses and come back to the table in gratitude, or someone else needs to lead the country to do that. I mean, it's up to the Ukrainians to figure that out. But I can tell you that we are re-exerting peace through strength.
And we're hearing now that President Trump plans to talk about the end of the war in Ukraine at some point tomorrow, one day closer to his self-imposed deadline to end the war within the first 100 days back in office. Harris?
All right, great reporting on you to get that nugget. I mean, they want an explicit apology from Zelensky. Have we seen anything to maybe point to that actually happening?
No, nothing. I've heard that Zelensky's team have been calling their counterparts here at the White House, but it just does not seem like anything is going to happen unless President Trump changes his mind and doesn't want a public apology. Nothing is going to happen. They are not going to get this deal, and they are basically going to be in the timeout chair with the way that the White House sees it until he comes up and says, I am sorry for the way that I acted.
Wow, the Ukrainian president literally taking it. Call a friend when you're losing. But this isn't a game show.
So as you can see, y'all, Donald Trump, who has been focused on ending a war in Ukraine, is dealing with a Ukrainian president, a dictator who wants to keep fighting, who wants to maintain the war, who wants to keep things going as they are, because he seems to be getting rich over there, him and his comrades. Well, America's turning the water off, sir. Your well has run dry in this direction. What are you going to do? Because those European countries can't sustain you the way America can. And here you want to have not only the war on the ground in Ukraine, but you want to have a war of words in the media against the United States president and the vice president that you disrespect by calling JD. What you talk about, JD? Oh, this, y'all, we have never seen anything like this in the history of this country. Now, I've heard all of the pundits say that these kind of things happen all the time behind the scenes, but it never happened in public in front of the cameras. Well, welcome to 2025. Welcome to the new administration. Things are going to be different in this country moving forward. And one of those things that may end up being different is the borders of Ukraine. Because if we take our weaponry that they have allegedly been selling on the black market anyway around the world, if we take back our weaponry, we take back our money, we take back our support, well, that's going to embolden Putin. And you might just get that extended war that you've been asking for in the media so disrespectfully.
We are speaking about the values, and it definitely looks not very democratic. Although I'm openly saying maybe it is a solution for Putin, for everybody. If I'm not that flexible, as they say, I'm exchanging it for NATO.
Can I just ask, you alluded to citizens of other nations. I mean, since the incident, Senator Lindsey Graham said that perhaps you should consider resigning. Speaker Mike Johnson today said that maybe you should consider resigning. Is your attitude it's not their business?
Lindsey Graham is Lindsey Graham is a very good guy, very nice. And speaking who must be the president and whether I shall resign, I can give him the citizenship of Ukraine. He will become the citizen of our country, and then his voice will start to gain weight, and I will hear him as a citizen of Ukraine on the topic of who must be the president. But Lindsey represents the party that fights for democratic values, and anyway, the president of Ukraine will have to be chosen not at home, at Lindsey Graham's home, but in Ukraine.
Now, y'all, don't you make the mistake that Zelensky is making right now, falling for the okie doke of people who are whispering in his ear. It's been rumored that some Democrats met with him before his meeting at the White House and told him to rebuff Donald Trump, to reject the offer to stand against Donald Trump. Well, that's bad advice. What you might want to do is swallow your pride, put your ego away, and come back to America groveling and hope that Donald Trump will have mercy on your situation. Because what you have done, sir, has been so disrespectful. I don't remember it ever happening in my lifetime in this way in front of the media. Well, if you know anything about Donald Trump, you can go read The Art of the Deal and learn a little piece. It's going to take a lot to get back in his good graces, and he may never trust you again at this point. You have done a disservice to your country and your countrymen. It's a shame. But I can understand why you may have been lured into that hole that you've been digging for yourself. Been lured by Democrats, been lured by the Europeans in those countries with those rusting tanks, unable to defend themselves, leaning on NATO because they're leaning on the United States. Well, maybe the United States needs to get out of NATO. How about that? But until this man apologizes, I think the United States should take their hand off the situation and just let it be what it be. Give the man what he wants. Sometimes, as the old folks used to say, a hard head makes a soft behind. Seems like little Zelensky, this little man, 5'3", who says, I am a president at war. Seems like he's going to have to learn the hard way. The olive branch didn't work. So let him get what he gets. Let him make his own decisions. After all, it's his country, and the United States don't really have any interest over there anyway, if we just be honest. I wonder if y'all understand where this could lead. When Donald Trump says you are playing with World War III, it's a real thing. It's not a game. But it seems like this man is determined to play with those cards that Donald Trump says he don't have. He said, oh, I'm not playing cards. Yes, you are. And you're sitting there posturing like you got a royal flush, and you ain't even got a pair of twos. I don't know what you're going to do with this. I don't know what your end goal is. I don't know who is advising you, but it seems like it's all wrong. And I hope at some point you come to your senses, because the killing needs to stop. And American spending needs to stop yesterday. Hopefully it will under this administration. We'll see how it goes, but I'd love to know what y'all think about this crazy situation, as many people in the media opine on it. I tried to share a few clips with you today to inform you as to where we stand on this issue. But I need to know from you in the comments. Let me know what you think about the little man who is so insulting, not only to the president, but to the people of the United States. And don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and share the video so we can get more people involved in the conversation, y'all. And like I always say, always remember and never forget, without the gospel, it's just chops. Until next time, peace.